Since Karl Marx posted his famous Communist Manifesto, a lot of very concerned men started to be inspired, but many men created systems that were able to be crazier than anything we could imagine, including UFOs to Marxism, or space colonies, or a scientific necromancy, vampirism, and astrology. This is what we will see today. The first that I want to talk about is Nikolai Fedorov, a very important thinker who was read by Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Soloviev, and also some Bolsheviks like Bogdanov, of whom I will talk soon. He wasn't himself a Marxist, but it is important to note that the Russian cosmists, that is, the idea that Russia should explore the space, had a great influence of this man, who died in 1903, decades before the Russians went to space. He had an idea of needing to save mankind, to create the kingdom of God in this earth, and by that he meant that he wanted to bring immortality to man, for he believed that the only evil in the world was death, and that they should try to bring back the people who have died. So all of humanity should unite against this one enemy, death. This was the common cause, but for bringing back the dead, they should also bring back the particles that belonged to them, and some of them happened to be in the space. And this is why the Russians should go to the cosmos, also because it would be impossible to fit all of the resurrected humans on Earth. He may seem a little crazy, but he also was a visionary, saying that mankind should use solar energy, preserve the ecosystem, and use artificial organs. Now, while Fedorov was not a socialist, but was very radical in his ideas, we will now talk about an Irish Leninist who had way more extreme ideas, J.D. Bernal. In his article, The Devil, the World, and the Flesh, he talks about his transhumanistic ideas. For example, he thought that we, as humans, should live in spheres in the space, colonizing asteroids. Also, that the human body, made of flesh, should be abandoned, and we should instead use bodies that would actually be made of some metal, and our minds should be uploaded to a hive mind. Yes, he really wanted to socialize thinking. He said that mankind had three enemies: the world, that was too small, so we should colonize space; the flesh, or our human fragility, so we should be cyborgs; and the devil, that is, the fear of this cosmic socialist, of this utopia that he invented, the fear of the progresses of science. For Bernal, if someone, a backward conservative, refused this evolution by technology, they should be left on Earth, and the planet would become a lab, a giant human zoo, for those more advanced humans to study. So there would be two classes, the scientific elite of space and the primal humans on Earth. But now, why are we not talking about UFOs? According to Juan Posadas, the reason because nor the United States nor the Soviet Union are talking about UFOs or flying saucers is because they found no profit in that. For these Posadas and the Posadists got the socialist ideas and mixed them with ufology. Posadas tells us in his long-named article, Flying Saucers, the Process of Matter and Energy, Science, the Revolutionary and Working Class Struggle, and the Socialist Future of Mankind, that, as the only way for a species to get to a level of development, to have flying saucers, to be able to travel to other planets, was to work together as communists. The only logical conclusion is that the aliens are communists, and as we, humans, had not yet reached communism, we should then try to communicate with those aliens, asking them help to reach communism. He also wrote about atomic energy, or to be precise, about the atomic bomb. He was actually very optimistic about them, as he believed that after a nuclear war, the power structure of capitalism and of the bourgeoisie would be destroyed, and that the masses, with the help of the aliens, will reconstruct a new socialist world. Now, Many say that those red ideas are red because socialism is a very bloody system, and a man who is the perfect example of a bloody socialism is Bogdanov. He was a close ally of Lenin, a doctor who was trying to discover the secret of immortality, and as Dracula was becoming very popular, with Nikolai II himself having read it, Bogdanov started to have some ideas. And when Lenin died in 1924, the desire of resurrecting people among the Russians grew even more, and this mystical vision of blood, fomented in a way by the Dracula book, was held by this Bogdanov, who himself wrote a book about a Martian communist utopia that Lenin said was foolish. Bogdanov and Lenin, indeed, broke their alliance, because Bogdanov was even more leftist than Lenin, who was trying some conversation with the Duma, the Russian parliament. But now, when Stalin rose to power, he was more interested in Bogdanov's science. Bogdanov, it is said, would transfuse blood from some patient to himself, and in doing this, was looking 5 to 10 years younger. But after his 12th transfusion, he started to feel fever, nausea, and all the signs of poisoning, and he soon died. Before we talk about the most insane socialist I know, subscribe and like the video, so you won't miss my next ones. I just made one about how Queen Zenobia fought Aurelian, check it out later. But now, forget a little all the science, all the scientific socialism, and let's talk about astrology. Let's talk about the socialism of a nation called Myanmar, also known, depending on who you ask, as Burma. A military coup led by Ne Win overthrew the Prime Minister U Nu, and together with him the democracy in Burma, the Burmese way to socialism. The new government's guiding political philosophy mixed the traditional Marxism with superstition from Buddhism and folklore, and they also expelled foreigners from the country. Ne Win himself has some very eccentric tastes. He, for example, was a gambler. He had married 6 times, he threw an ashtray at one of his wives and ruined a Christmas Eve with some diplomats, while tearing a woman's dress as he shoved her to the floor. He also believed in numerology, astrology, and Yamana, having them in consideration in his important decisions. When a soothsayer warned the dictator that he risked assassination, Ne Win would stand in front of a mirror and shot his image with the revolver he kept at his side. When warned of a bloodbath, he was advised to stand in front of the mirror and trample on dog entrails, or in a bowl of pig's blood to simulate the carnage. Whenever he went also, he ordered to kill the stray dogs, as the soothsayers advised him against them. Now, we saw that Bogdanov tried transfusing blood to live longer. Ne Win bathed in dolphin's blood to look younger. In 1970, he ordered cars to switch from driving on the left to the right, as an astrologer warned him that the country had turned too far to the left. Now, for the bad luck of the Burmese people, Ne Win's luck number was 9. He, then, replaced the money with multiples of 9, making notes of 90, 45, and 9, destroying the value of the notes of 100 that were in circulation before. In 1988, the people had enough of this and went protesting, putting in his place a more sane dictator.